This video is a tutorial about VoiceThread and how you can utilize it in your classes in Blackboard. To begin, it's important that you add this to the tools area in your class. So you can see here on the screen, I've gone to the add menu item, going to go to tool link. I'm going to call this VoiceThread. And under announcements, I'm going to scroll. This is an alphabetical list, and I'm going to go to VoiceThread-VCSU. A quick note, unless I check this box here, it will not be available to my students. So if I am just playing around with it on my own, it's okay to not check that box, but it's just important to note that without checking this box, it will be hidden. And so if you have any resources in VoiceThread, your students will not be able to see that. So I'm going to check this box and then click submit. You now notice that a link has been created in this menu. And if I click on this, it will give me three options. As this loads, those three options are the following. I can send this to VoiceThread home, which will be out to www.voicethread.com. And importantly, unless a student has previously accessed VoiceThread for some other class, if I direct them to the VoiceThread home, this will be empty. So this is not advised unless you make sure that students have already accessed their VoiceThread on the home page. The other two alternatives are that I can send them to a course view, and anything and only anything that I have personally shared or students have shared with this class will be available under the course view. And the third alternative is this button below course view, individual VT or individual VoiceThread. And this will only send the students or anyone who clicks on this particular link to a single item in VoiceThread. So if that has not been shared properly with the course, then it will be inaccessible to them. So this is an important step when you are first incorporating VoiceThread into your courses, that you select either the VoiceThread home, the course view, or the individual VoiceThread. In this case, I am going to go to course view because I am going to set this up for all of my students in this class. Again, you can choose which of these makes the most sense to you. Now, all you will get at this point is this, as you see on the screen, success and return to course. So I'm going to do that, return to course. And I thought that it would take me back. Now I'm going to have to click back on this link, and now notice that it will open to my course page. Notice it says no voice threads found, and that is because I haven't shared any with this particular class. So it's giving me this option to create one or to add my own. And for the purposes of this tutorial, I'm going to click add my own. And what I'm going to do is I can either create a new voice thread or I can select from the ones that I have previously utilized. I'm going to create this new one just to show you the options that you have here. So I can add media or I can drop my files. So under this, I have the following menu options. I can select something from my computer. I can select media sources from a cloud or other internet sites. I can start an audio recording. I can use a webcam photo. I can start a webcam video, which I personally cannot do that right now because I'm recording this in this tutorial. Or I can share a URL link. For most cases, what you will start off with and what students have found to be the most accessible is that you will choose something from my computer, and this will most likely be a PowerPoint presentation. So I'm going to click on this abnormal psychology. I'm going to give it a title. So in this case, I'm just going to say a test voice thread. You can enter a description, but you do not have to, and tags are also up to your discretion. The playback options, typically you probably won't change these. However, if you want there to be multiple layers of commenting, so in other words, I comment and then one of my students wants to be able to comment on my comments, then I can enable this threaded commenting. Otherwise, individuals will only be able to comment on the actual file of the voice thread. So that's an option that you can play around with. I have never enabled that, at least up to this point, and that has been fine for my purposes. However, you notice by default, we have the commenters are allowed to add slides. That's okay. I have not personally seen students doing that, but if they were to have that option, it would be there for them. They can download original media, others can export, and one box that's checked here is start playing when it's open. If you want them to have to click on a play icon, then you can simply uncheck that box. Right now, others do not have the option to make a copy, and I do not have comments moderated. Also here on the far right side of this menu, notice that all 5 of these options are currently checked. And these are important. These are the ways that the students are going to be able to engage with one another in this VoiceThread environment. They are microphone, webcam, phone, file upload, and text. I might suggest taking out the phone option because I've not seen anyone find that useful. Primarily what I notice is that students record audio comments to each other, or on occasion they will make a video comment, so that webcam option is important. I have not seen many people upload a file, but perhaps if they had created their comments in a Word document, then this would allow them to upload that Word document, so I would recommend keeping that box checked. And then text is probably the most common choice that students have chosen up to this point, and that is that they simply type their comments. And then, interestingly, the way that VoiceThread plays that back is as if it were audio, so it will actually scroll for you automatically. So that's a nice feature. Again, I haven't played with any of these other settings, but for instance, if you wanted to automatically advance to the next slide, this could be actually quite useful because as I'm about to demonstrate, one of the features that is unique to VoiceThread is that you actually have to record in segments. So for instance, if I have a 15 slide presentation, if I do not automatically advance, some cases students end up with all of their audio that's out of order from their slides. So if I instead automatically advance to the next slide, then this would negate that issue. I currently have not selected to not allow commenters to delete their comments. But if for whatever reason I wanted to be able to do that, I could check that box. I have also not limited each comment at all. What I mostly find is students record somewhere between 1 and 3 minutes for their comments. And then when recording, go to the next slide every however many minutes. So again, that could help with the audio. So I'm going to save. And what I primarily wanted to show you here is, so we've done the first step, which is to add the media. And this is something that's also unique and can be frustrating as a feature of VoiceThread if you are not familiar with this tool. If you do not add media first, VoiceThread is not a screen capture tool. So what that means is anything that you are currently seeing on your computer, unless you have uploaded it to VoiceThread, you can be recording in VoiceThread, which is this comment area right here, and it will not be recording anything on your screen. So that's something that is important to keep in mind as you begin to utilize and implement VoiceThread in your classes, that you will have to go through the 2-step process like I have shown here, where I uploaded my slides, and then for my second piece of creating this particular VoiceThread, I am going to now add a comment. And what you will notice here is it gives me these options. Again, I've taken away that phone option, so that's why it's only got 4. But if I had selected that, then it would have all 5. But again, this is how I can record if I'm just going to type my comments, or I can do audio, video, or I could upload a file. And notice that this brings me to the first slide. So in order to advance, then I have to go to the next slide, and then I can also record another comment. Back in that menu, something that we saw is if you automatically advance after a certain period of time, then that can be one flowing audio comment as opposed to multiple segments. And again, I've had students do it in a variety of ways, and it's really just their individual preference. So I'm going to not worry about any comments right now and go back out of this. And this is a very important component, this third element that's in this blue box where it says share and return to course. Unless I do that, no one in my course will be able to see this. And that's something that I have noticed many students often fail to complete this phase. So I utilize this primarily as a final project assignment where students will become an expert on some topic that's relevant to whatever course they've taken. And then they will upload their voice threads. And when I go to grade things, I have noticed in the past that I didn't see their voice thread, and it was simply because they forgot to complete the step of number 3, which is share and return to the course. It's a really simple step here. As you notice, it says submit share with this class. And this has to do with the way that I set that up initially. Had I not chosen to go to the course view and instead chosen to go to the VoiceThread home or an individual VoiceThread, then I would have other options here. So again, just something to keep in mind as you begin to work with this tool. But for now, I'm just going to X out of this because this is just my test. But it will return me to the course. And now I'm back at the course page for VoiceThread. And if I wanted to go back to my Blackboard course, then I can always go back to the breadcrumb here, and this takes me back to that page. One final note that I think is very worth mentioning, when I was first beginning working with VoiceThread, I did not realize that you could automatically caption unless you went out to www.voicethread.com/universal. But they have since updated, and when you click on a particular voice thread, and I have many of these, so I am going to simply go to voicethread.com. Again, as long as I am logged in to Blackboard, it will take me to my homepage. And this is a voice thread that I created a video. So if I start playing this, what I just wanted to point out here is that I can have my closed captions assignment, and it's literally as simple as that. I'm going to pause that so that I'm not talking over myself here. Now, they might not be perfect, but what's really helpful about this is that in terms of accessibility, VoiceThread is automatically accessible. So if that is a hindrance and you don't want it, you can simply go back up to the CC and click off. And if you ever want to get out of a single voice thread, you simply click the X and that will take you back to whatever your options are. So VoiceThread I found to be a very useful tool. It might be somewhat of a steep learning curve. I recommend providing sort of a walkthrough with your students so that they know, again, back to those like step 1, step 2, step 3, mainly that they upload their file first of their slides and then they record any audio or video over them, and also that they share. As long as those 3 steps are clear to students, I found this to be very useful, and I'll just quickly scroll through and you can see how many of my students have done this quite successfully for final projects. So VoiceThread I find to be very useful. It's a really good way of engaging students in a way that's in the online platform. I use this in my online and my face-to-face classrooms. And I'll just quickly demonstrate if I click on one of these. what you can see here, there's 9 comments and 16 people have viewed it. So it gives you a little bit of the stats. So again, my students have found this to be a really helpful way of sharing information with each other and engaging in conversations that they might not otherwise have. So VoiceThread, I highly recommend. I think that we can do a lot of things with it. Probably my biggest success has been that they updated and now you can automatically do those closed captions. So highly recommend VoiceThread and hope that you find it useful as you begin to explore it in your own classes.